Welcome back to another edition of the Stars and Stripes Cricket Podcast presented by Sportsnection. And on today's episode, we have the CEO and the founder of Sportsnection Trading Cards, Omar Khokhar. Omar, welcome to the podcast.
I'm glad to be here, Peter. Thank you.
Well, it's great to have you here, Omar, as one of the people who's arguably one of the most innovative individuals I've come across in the American cricket community. I first got a chance to meet you at the 2024 T20 World Cup matches that were held in New York. You're from Illinois, born in Ohio, but grew up in Illinois, and I came in contact with you through a mutual friend of ours, PJ Kuddals, and then I got the opportunity to meet you in New York during the World Cup and learn a bit more about Sportsnection and everything to do with the trading card community that you're involved in trying to open up doors specifically for cricketers in the trading card community where there's a awfully big void that was existing before Sportsnection arrived. So if you can give listeners and viewers a brief synopsis of how old Sportsnection is, when was it founded, how did it come to be? Where's the magic? What's the secret sauce, Omar?
Oh goodness. The short story is I was in Melbourne for Pakistan, India in October 22, which was a great game. And I was FaceTiming my little guy. He was 5 at the time. And during COVID, as most collectors, they kind of rekindled their obsession with collecting during the pandemic. And I was no different. And then all of a sudden I had a young Padawan, really excited to rip and look at cards and everything. So we did that with NFL and NBA. And so I FaceTimed him from Melbourne and I said, what do you want from Australia? And he says, hey, I want some cricket cards. I said, sounds good. And so I looked for, the sort of standard stock, sports card fare. I really didn't see a whole lot. And then I dug a little bit more and I looked at, well, where's the 1986 Fleer basketball set? Where's the 1989 Upper Deck set of cricket, Where, all the stuff, like just I'm a basketball diehard. And so very, very, very little in the cricket ecosystem. And so then from an entrepreneurial business point of view, it was, hey, hold on, we're about 2.5 billion fans, the second most popular and most watched sport in the world, and we don't have much of a presence in this very traditional sports vertical. That's sort of the etymology of it. Really, I mean, really, it was a dad fail. He's asking me for something, and I couldn't give it to him. I felt bad, so I'm like, hey, how do I make this? And so I was very blessed with great friends growing up. So a visit to Pakistan a few months later, I was sitting in my driveway with a good high school friend of mine. Turns out his good friend knew Wasim Akram and Shahid Afridi through a business relationship and kept shaking tree branches and some apples started falling. And honestly, it's actually 2 years probably to the day. Well, it's February now, but it's pretty cool to see the response from the collectors, especially in India and around the world, to what we've been able to do so far.
People growing up in America, they take sports trading cards for granted. I mean, every year for Christmas growing up for a good 4 or 5 year stretch, I wanted a wax box of Upper Deck, either ice
Hmm.
hockey cards or baseball cards. And I got in trouble one day at school because it was shortly after Christmas. I had gotten a variety of pretty good cards that, whether it was Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux
Hmm.
or Doug Gilmour, these established stars at the time in the NHL. I was more of an ice hockey card collector, but also baseball and Ken Griffey Jr. or some of those cards, Mark McGuire, whatever, Barry Bonds, you wanted to get your hands on. And for me, it was about I was trying to flip cards so that I could then buy more cards. You were hoping to
Yep.
get if you had a 24 pack box or a 48 pack box of a wax box, the goal was one of two things: either open up all the cards and get the entire trading card set. Because if you had a complete
Hmm.
set, you could then sell the complete
Yep.
set, one to
Right.
120 or one to 180, whatever the cards were.
Hmm.
Or if you got a specific card that was a rookie card, that was a high value card that might be more worth more individually than an actual complete set, and you could try and flip that. And then it was all about buying more cards. You wanted to get that special rookie card. As the years went along, one of the other things that would come along was they would embed game worn jerseys into cards. That started to become in vogue in like the mid 90s.
Yep.
And if you could
Yep.
get an embedded, what they would do, they would take somebody's jersey, game worn jersey, and then they would cut it into
Yeah.
like 100 pieces and embed 100 pieces of the jersey into the card, and then it would be autographed. And I'll never forget one of my next door neighbors got it was like, and they're numbered, one out of 100 or one out of
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
he got a Wayne Gretzky insert autographed jersey embedded, and he
Oh,
immediately he put it in a screw case,
yeah.
and it was like
Yeah.
gem in eight or
Graded.
graded
Yeah.
eight, graded
Yeah.
nine, gem in nine, something like that, and he never touched it, and it was like, this card was worth thousands of dollars, and
And he pulled that out of a retail like
he pulled it out of a
box.
retail pack,
He
yeah,
just hit it.
and he
Wow.
was just holding on to it for long term so that he could potentially sell later on, or depending on how the value, that card was never going to go down in value with Wayne Gretzky's career.
Right.
It was just a
Yeah.
case of
Yeah.
how long he wanted to hold on to it. But this is all part of growing up,
Of
and
course. Of
so
course.
you wanted a wax box of Upper Deck or Tops or Donruss or Fleer. You mentioned Fleer. All these things are OPG with ice hockey cards.
Yep.
And so I've always taken it for granted. You've always taken it for granted. This is part of growing up. I remember you telling the story about, trying to find, I believe it was David Robinson and a Michael Jordan
Yeah.
card. These are the things that American kids do. And yet, in cricket
Yeah.
culture, that doesn't exist. There's kind of a disconnect in terms of what you were talking about. You go overseas and your kid wants the card of a cricketer, and you're like, well, how do I find this? What do I do? And then that's how Sportsnection is born. So, what are the challenges that you've had in terms of helping to bridge that gap to make people in the cricket community understand and be more aware that this is something that collectors really are keen on, and bridge that gap, whether it's the cricket community broadly around the world or specifically the cricket community in America?
Well, it's both. I mean, so America is obviously the ecosystem hub of collecting, right? And so as someone like me, I go to card shows once a month. I go to my local card show, I go to Chicago. I've traveled for card shows. And so collecting here is just it's a rite of passage, right? I mean, like my neighbors collect, my kids collect, I collected as a kid. And so if you look at cricket globally, which is where the majority of the interest is, I think there's been some embryonic products, maybe in the UK. India, as part of the IPL, had some card product, I think from 2008 to 2017. That was more of a gamification project where, there were rankings batting and bowling on the card, and you kind of played with the cards, almost like a magic Pokemon type of thing. Whereas traditional collecting really relies on the card itself. And to your point, if there's any accents, whether it's a relic of a jersey or a signature autograph or a numbered, that's what creates the rarity of the card. And so that's obviously part and parcel of the hobby where there's a collection point of view, but there's also, an investor speculation point of view. I mean, I could tell you my friends had binders full of guys that you might remember. One was a Steelers quarterback named Bubby Brister, who he thought was going to be Terry Bradshaw. He had like 30 Bubby Bristers. And then the other one, who was a can't miss, an absolute can't miss. You remember this? Todd Van
I
Poppel.
knew you were going to say that. I was
Of
going
the-
to I was going to say I was desperate, the Oakland A's
Yeah.
Todd Van Poppel rookie card. Yes, exactly.
Yes, yes. So people just en masse hoarded Todd Van Poppel. There were so many Todd Van Poppel binders full of like
I
Todd
had
Van
a
Poppel.
few Todd Van Poppel cards.
See,
Yes, I know.
see. So that's part of the thrill of it is, who's going to hit. Now, you'll have your obvious ones like, even Luca is Luca now. But people forget he was actually drafted by the Hawks, and then they traded to the Mavs Trey Young for number two and number three. DeAndre Ayton, I think, was the number one pick that year. But no one really knew Luca was going to be that good, right? Or I'll give you the best example now. I mean, just 4 months ago, everyone was stockpiling like Lamar, Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Nobody was picking up Drake May.
Or Sam
So,
Darnold. What's the Sam
or
Darnold card worth,
Sam,
Bernard?
I don't even know if Sam Darnold rookie. It's probably like, I think the 2016 draft class.
He
But
was in
like
the same
Drake
classes, yeah,
May,
as Lamar Jackson and
as Lamar.
Allen.
He's the
Yeah,
first one, Allen. He's the
yeah,
first one to make it.
yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that, So like Drake May is a perfect example of speculation, right? You drop some of your budget on Drake May in August. He's looking good at camp. Who knows? He's going to make a Super Bowl run. If you have the right rookie, you've probably 10x'd already, right? 2 weeks ago, people were picking up Jared Stidham as a quick gamble to see what happens. Didn't work out. Didn't work out. But on that note, cricket is rife for that type of thing. I mean, someone like me, I remember after that Pakistan India game in 2022, I'm like, where is the Kohli rookie? Where's the Bumrah rookie? Where's the Ashwin rookie? Where's the Babar Azam rookie? And like, they may have some random issues here and there, but certainly nothing specific or as mature as the traditional card market. And so that's where I started looking. And so to back to your question, the challenge globally where cricket lives has been getting what's called quote unquote a licensed product, right? License would mean is that you have the logo of the country board, a photo of them in their country gear, and then maybe the ICC logo. FIFA soccer cards, some of them have FIFA, some of them don't. And so everybody who's a part of that stack wants a piece of the action. And that's been incredibly challenging, not just for me, but other potential manufacturers who are looking to enter the space, because there is a cognitive disassociation that exists between, I've had this posed to me literally where I've had a player say to me, actually pretty recently, the last couple of weeks, that, hey, I saw that Patrick Mahomes rookie sold for $4.2 million. Well, if that sold for $4.2 million, you should pay me 3 million of that and you keep 1 million. And I'm like, that's really not how it works. So you really have to explain the entire and then you lose them and then they move on. And
This is a
so
cricketer who said this to you.
correct. So he knew enough. He knew enough to say, hey, I saw one of these cards sell for $4 million. Or he saw another person mentioned the Jordan Kobe 1 of 1 that Kevin O'Leary bought for 12.9 million. So they're looking at these numbers and they're thinking, well, let's do 80-20 on this. And I'm like, that's really not how it works. I assure you, Patrick Mahomes did not get paid $3 million for that card. He got a stack of 80 cards. He has a contract through the NFLPA. And frankly, even the card manufacturer didn't realize that profit. They might get their profit on the other end somewhere by just mass retail and here and there, but it's not a one-to-one like people think. So it's very difficult to explain that conversation. So ultimately, that's why early in the process, we pivoted to retired players. When you go to retired players, they're off central contract, they're off country contract. And as long as you're not infringing upon any kind of logo, whether it's country or sponsor or company, so on and so forth, you're in the clear. And that's something actually it's a new phenomenon where there's a lot of trading card manufacturers, Leaf, Wildcard, Panini have just lost their license for some leagues, but collectors used to look at it differently, but it's changing. I will say it's definitely evolving. As long as the product is solid and as long as you have autographs or other jersey relics, I will tell you the line between licensed and unlicensed is blurring for sure. So that's been helpful for us because collectors have been much more embracing of what we have. So that's the global part of it. And the US part of it, where obviously you have a very mature trading card system, it's a flip script where there's just no awareness of cricket. And so that's where Major League Cricket, having started out a couple of years ago, that was an opportunity, in my opinion, to come out with maybe a 1986 Fleer type of set. That's your first set. People forget that 1986 Fleer basketball, which is considered the icon of basketball, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, James Worthy, all these rookies are chalk in there because no one really made a licensed set for 7 years in the 80s. That set sat on shelves. That box was $9 when it came out, and if you saw a sealed 1986 Fleer box now, it's easily $400,000. It's astronomical, and so I think there's an opportunity in your inaugural season to come out with a product which would have been a lot of rookies. And so in that situation, we also saw some pushback. Number one, again, you go to league and then you go to player union. And so that's the thing with cricket is that there is now a World Cricketer Association. There is something that represents, but that's only about 70% of the countries. It doesn't include South Asia in there. And so there's just it doesn't lend itself to that clean stack. If I were to go as a card manufacturer to the NFL, they'd say, okay, the NFL gets X amount of the proceeds, the NFLPA gets X amount of proceeds, and the company gets X amount of proceeds. Cricket doesn't stack like that, so you have to get innovative.
On that specific point, there's so many layers that you have to peel through in terms of MLC is a franchise league in the US, but unlike the NFL, where all the players are with the NFLPA or the NHL, NHLPA, or MLBPA, or NBAPA, NBPA, there's no players association that all these players are registered to in America. You're potentially having to deal with New Zealand Cricket Players Association, South African Cricket Players Association in England, Pakistan. If there is a players association, India definitely doesn't have one. Pakistan doesn't have one.
Right.
USA
Nope.
only had one started very recently, and
Right.
it's still kind of vague how well organized and coordinated they are with this type of issue, especially if not all the players are assigned to be registered members of the USA Cricketers Players Association. So, you've got a lot of players who are a part of that and others who are not part of that. And, so the intent behind that was, a lot of these is on a baseline standpoint, collective bargaining for just player contracts themselves, and then it extends further to name, image, and likeness rights, and that deals with trading cards and what you're dealing with. So from that standpoint, I mean, what and then you also mentioned, of course, the league itself and those kind of issues. So I mean, for all those things, which out of those has been the biggest challenge for you to deal with from the standpoint of if you're trying to come to a negotiating table with MLC, whether it's the league, whether it's the individual franchises, whether it's players, if you're trying to line up players from the USA or from other countries, and some countries' players are buying in and others are not kind of buying in, whether it's because they just don't understand the trading card concept because it's not something that's
Mhm.
part of sports culture in Australia, New Zealand, or South Africa, or Pakistan, whatever, or any other issue. What's the biggest problem that you've encountered in terms of trying to institute this kind of thing for cricket
Yeah.
trading cards in the US?
Well, I'll flip the question to what's been the simplest one. And the simplest thing has been the players, especially in the US. They're thrilled at the idea. Cricket in the US needs promotion. Cricket in the US needs to enter other verticals. If you go to a trading card show, you'll see lacrosse, rugby, pickleball, horse racing. You make a card, there's someone out there who will buy it. And now you're getting to this whole crossover between sports and culture where you've got Batman cards, Marvel cards, Disney cards, right? There's a whole crossover segment.
So you're
So
telling
the
me, so this is
players,
this is news to me. I'm curious. You can get a American Pharaoh Triple Crown trading card or a California Chrome.
somewhere,
I
I
didn't even
mean,
know this was possible. That's amazing.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And then boxing. Topps just came out with their first boxing issue, I think, first one in 40 years. So they got some Mike Tyson autos in there. They've got some Sugar Ray, they've got some Floyd Mayweather, not everybody, but because boxing, you have to pick them off one by one, right? There's no league necessarily. So the point is that part of cricket in America, and this is where there's been a little bit of a cognitive gap about the value of the quantum here in the US, which I'm sure you've encountered as well. If you look at the total, bandwidth towards sports, cricket in the US, it's probably in the lacrosse, rugby, pickleball, women's pro hockey bucket, right? And that's just where we are. It's not a knock, it's not an insult. The average American doesn't really know much about cricket. They might have an idea, but certainly not enough. I mean, I promote my cards at local card shows and people love it. They're like, "Oh yeah, they play this over there over by the church." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is that sport." And like, I didn't know they had cards. I'm like, "Yeah, we even have a USA cricket team." Like, really? I'm like, "Yeah, we really do." And like they actually did really well a couple of years ago. And like then the kids will start gathering around me and then like the dads will start listening. But it's like that's how you grow the game at the grassroots level. You're going to back end into it where, you give someone some cricket cards. And a perfect example is if you go to a pro cricket game here in the US, You might get a flag, you might get some plastic sunglasses. But if I'm a kid, I want a pack. I want a team set. Like that's what happens if I go to a Bears game, they'll have a promotion or a Cardinals or Cubs game, right? Once a year they'll have a promotion, they'll hand out a trading card pack. And there might be something of value. I don't know if you saw that story about Rutgers basketball just over the weekend, where they were releasing some kind of card, and I have to look into the details. And there's a huge secondary value to it. So the price of Rutgers basketball tickets has gone up. Have a look at it. It's really a phenomenon, just like I think it happened on Thursday.
And so this
Rutgers is
is
your territory.
you go to the
This is your
game. Yeah,
territory.
it is. It is. Rutgers, the State
No, no.
University of New Jersey. It's one of the few state
I know.
universities in America that doesn't actually have the state in its name. You've got Purdue,
I know.
you've got
Right.
Rutgers. I believe Clemson, I want to say, is a state university in South
I think
Carolina.
Clemson is pro. I don't know. I don't know.
We have to decide this
And
right
there's Penn
now.
State. Yeah.
I'm going to
No,
be
I don't
irritated
know.
if I don't get this right. Clemson.
I don't think Clemson is, man. I think Clemson's private.
No, it's public. Clemson's public, yeah. It's a land grant university. So you got Clemson,
So
Purdue,
Clemson, Purdue, and then Rutgers.
Rutgers, and yeah, it's essentially it of the major state universities. It's quite amazing.
So
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 wait, what is this?
so
So you would go to the
so
game
okay, here's
and
what I'm telling you.
they
Here's what
would
I'm telling
give
you.
the tickets as
Here's what I'm
sorry,
telling
the
you.
cards as a promotion.
So so okay, let me tell you. As someone with Rutgers in your backyard, do you know anything about Rutgers basketball other than it's in the Big Ten now?
I know they had two of the top three picks in the NBA draft last year, despite not even making the NCAA tournament.
Here it is. It's called One Piece Monkey D. Luffy U.S. College Basketball Card. That was released at Rutgers game or at Rutgers games. I think this is the one. I have to do some digging into it. But the point is, a Rutgers basketball ticket has gone up in value because if you're one of the first 500 or whatever the promotion is, you get one of these cards.
Right.
And so, if you were to come out with that kind of organic phenomena, and I just, I'm sure some of your listeners are tied in with professional cricket here in the US, like that could draw people to Oakland or Morrisville or Texas, right? If you came up with some kind of collectible, right? Collectible is the key word. And so there's so much potential. There's so many ways we can use trading cards to enhance the profile of cricket in the US. And that's where I came from. That's what my conclusion was when it comes to USA players trading cards. As you know, in 2024, they beat Bangladesh in Texas, which was a big deal. And that's when I reached out to a couple of them about, hey, let's make a USA trading card set. And so we were able to get, I think, 13 of them under agreement. And then they came, and then we met them in New York. They beat Pakistan, they beat Canada. They were white hot, lightning in a bottle. It was awesome to see. And I know you were way inside on that. And there were so many things that could have been done differently to capture that moment. Frankly, I mean, we could have come up with a license set. I think that would have been huge. Like it's Team USA. A lot of people don't even care about the sport. It's Team USA, you know? Why wouldn't they want it? So, but the point is, like, we called lightning in a bottle and we did pretty well. I mean, like, I think we broke even economically. But the point is, like, we created something of value and interest to the casual American sports fan.
Before we go any further with Omar Khokhar, I want to remind everybody that today's episode of the Stars and Stripes Cricket Podcast is brought to you by Sportsnection, the home of the first ever U.S. cricket trading card set, the Stars and Stumps series. Head to sportsnection.com to get your hands on limited edition items, including autographed cricket trading cards from up and coming USA men's stars such as Sai Mukamala, Sanjay Krishnamurthy, and Shubham Ranjane, who are all part of the USA T20 World Cup squad. Stars and Stripes Cricket Podcast listeners can use coupon code PDP 2026 at checkout to get 20% off any online order. That's coupon code PDP 2026. Sportsnection is not only American owned, but their cards are printed in the US of A. Once again, that's Sportsnection, uniting athletes and fans through trading cards. Following up on the point you mentioned, Omar, the World Cup players in 2024, coming off the back of
Mhm.
that Bangladesh series and the wins they had over Canada and Pakistan, you have these cards. 13 of the 15 players come to an agreement. You're able to print trading cards pretty quickly. What? And there's one right there. It's Jesse Singh. There's Jesse Singh, one of the Jesse Singh cards. This is part of the set that you had printed.
Vice
So,
captain.
what was the response? You said you more or less broke even. I mean, how many cards did you print? How are they kind of situated in terms of were they all part of a set? Was it a 13 card set just for those 13 players in the squad, or were they inserted in the mix of other cards that you have printed with other cricket trading cards in the overall collection you have? How did it all come to be? How long did it take to get these cards printed? You know, what's the production line process like from an operational standpoint? And then getting some of these cards signed in person. You were able to meet with the players at the team hotel. All these things that went into it to get it as efficient as possible, and then capitalize on it with the spectator fan interest from the trading card community.
Yeah, I mean, you have to move quick, and that's one of the pros about being a smaller company, a startup company, is that you can pivot and move quickly. And so after that Bangladesh series, I made some outreaches. And so we had verbal agreements followed by written agreements. Then we went to the design process. And like you said, these cards were printed right here in Bloomington, Illinois here. And so the turnaround time to print, maybe a couple of weeks. And then we were lucky enough where they're all in one central location to get them signed. Then it goes to marketing and distribution. And then from that point of view, as any startup company, you're always grappling with how much to put into your marketing budget versus your operation and IP acquisition budget. But we were lucky that we had a lot of positive PR and tailwind with their victories and qualifying for the Super Six. That there were bids on eBay. There were bids on eBay. People were bidding on these cards. Some of them are graded. There's a lot still out there. There's a lot of the cards still out there. And as you look now at guys like Andre House or Harmeet Singh, um, a lot of these people have gone on to really, really good franchise success in the last 2 years. And so I was actually just thinking about it this week. I was like digging like, do I have one of the Andre House rookies? Because the ones that I kept for myself were unnumbered, so they're not the circulated version. They're more personal collection or PC, as we call them. So I haven't found one, but I'm like, I would actually put that up in my office because he had a huge century in the ILT 20 semifinals, and he was a huge part of the Desert Vipers winning. And the other one, which I'm super excited, and he's such a great guy too, is Sanjay Krishnamurthy. Sanjay has just taken leaps and bounds from that. I think he had 70 off 35 in a game with the Unicorns a couple years ago, which really announced him as whoa, this guy is a true sort of local grown talent who can play with the big boys. He's played in Nepal, he played for MI Emirates, and obviously he's qualified for the squad this year. So I'm super excited. The Stars and Stumps has his on-card rookie, right? It's all numbered, and then this guy, Sai Mukamala, he's gonna do great. And then there's guys like Josh Trump, Josh from Texas. I mean, he's a golfer and a cricketer, So him and his brother, Matt, I mean, there's just so much potential. And for me, a lot of it is like, let's promote these guys. Let's highlight these guys, right? I mean, we're gonna penetrate a completely different interest segment by having cricket cards. And so I think a corollary that I would use is it takes time. It takes time and it takes mutual understanding. And the best example to me is the WNBA. Until 3 years ago, the quantum for WNBA cards was not very high. It wasn't. But it was there, right? If you wanted, you know, women basketball cards, you could still get them. Was there a huge market for it? No. But it set the platform for Caitlin Clark. And now it's gone gangbusters. I mean, she has revolutionized. I mean, there are bona fide collectors who don't know a thing about women's basketball or WNBA, nor do they care to know, but they're buying the product. They're watching the games. And so for me personally, if you will, and I have a vested interest and I have a 13-year-old girl who plays, I have a 9-year-old kid who plays. He just had a cricket practice yesterday. So if these guys can hit, right, it just gives them something to look forward to, right? Could that be us, right? Well, they just played. They go to college, they go to high school here, because a lot of, as you know, the USA team is folks who have immigrated here, right? And that's the majority of the team. But I think it's going to change, especially with the last 2 weeks, the two centuries that these boys hit under 19. I mean, those are homegrown talents hitting centuries on the world stage. It's huge. And even the women to be in the fight against associate countries is a huge development because the women truly, I think they're all under 19, and it's always a common thing. Is this the under 19 team? Nope, this is the actual national team. So we need to get together. It's me, obviously, a passion play, which I think could eventually have commercial value. But if the handlers of American cricket or professional cricket in the US think that there's some kind of huge quantum like the NFL, it's not there right now. So it's something that it'll just take somebody innovative, it'll take somebody with a little bit of forward thinking, saying, you know what, this might be worthwhile to do because this will grow interest in the game domestically.
I think one thing people may be curious about is how does somebody bankroll this? I mean, you said it was a passion play. Your son, you were trying to do something to correct a dad fail moment, and that was the inspiration for starting the company. But doing something like this, it's obviously not cheap. You're a gastroenterologist in your professional career. I'm curious, how do you balance that? How much time commitment is there in terms of your medical career compared to what you're trying to do with Sportsnection? And from an operational standpoint, what did it take to get it up and running once the seed was planted that, hey, there's a gap in the market here and I could potentially fill it with what I'm doing with Sportsnection?
I think two things. Number one, like everything, you have to have a team. You have to have a team in place. I've been blessed with a team, some of it family, some of it external. A lot of contacts I had from when I owned an indoor football team about 10 years ago. I called them up and I started banging, knocking on some doors. And so people here understand the concept. It wasn't very difficult to bring them on board. The second part of it is, I will tell you, it's a completely different part of my brain where, my medical career is very, very different and methodical. And I spend the majority of my time in endoscopy, colonoscopy procedures and what have you. But this is learning an MBA on the fly, but without knowing the concepts. So I'm always playing catch up, right? And part of it for me is it worth my time to learn this or is it worth my time to outsource this? And that's been my personal struggle with every part of it, whether it's IP acquisition, whether it's operations, whether it's scaling, marketing. It's always how much of this do I need to know versus how much do I outsource? And, it's more self-preservation, right? How do I allocate my disposable time, which is minimal, to balance what is a passion play to begin with, but I really do see the possibility of this becoming something more ingrained in the hobby with real commercial value, which I think we've demonstrated with our other cricket products, the All-Stars of Cricket Series 1 and Series 2. I mean, there's bona fide revenue coming in from those products. And so I think there's definitely the market has told us that there's something there. And so now it's just a matter like every startup company where the growing pains and how do you scale up? How do you take bigger swings? The Mount Rushmore is still there. Tendulkar, Kohli, Dhoni, Lara, they don't have what we would call nice trading cards. They've got stuff, but they don't have the Jordan one of one, with a Team India or whatever jersey patch. I mean, that's still out there. That's still out there. And for me, that's my next up is how do we get to that?
And then also from an operational standpoint, you decided to set things up in Illinois, close to home. What went into that decision in terms of you mentioned outsourcing things potentially, what options were available versus making this an American-made product?
People don't realize how much of a difference there is between digital and print when it comes to graphics. And so you can come up with the snazziest graphics that'll look great on Instagram and Facebook, but they may not print so well. And what you don't want to do is print 1,000 cards from Guangzhou or Pakistan or wherever the case may be on Alibaba, right? I mean, you don't want that to show up at your door and then be
You don't
like,
want Temu
oh,
trading cards.
right, right. You just you don't know. And so when you print local, right, you may be sacrificing a little bit because you're working with, local print shops who they've done a really great job with sort of tweaking their processes and being able to print, for example, on holographic cardstock. The best thing is I can just send them a PDF and be like, hey, can you run this for me? And they're very, very nice about it, where they can get it delivered to my office the next day, and then we can see, hey, that one looks really good, right? Or that one looks really good. But then there'll be examples where like, oh, you know what, that artwork not so good. And
Can you
this is
hold
one
up
of
the
my
Boom Boom one again?
favorites.
I want to see that one, the Boom Boom Afridi card.
Yeah,
Just hold it
yeah,
up
yeah.
close.
Boom Boom is my guy. See that?
That's a pretty cool
So
card, yeah.
this is an insert set from Series 2, and what we've done, just because I'm a collector nerd, is that Series 1 had a throwback to a 90s set, and the savvy collectors recognized it pretty quickly. It was a Fleer Ultra Scoring Kings that had a lightning foil on the back. So we had a Thunder Lightning version in our set, and I think I have one. It looks kind of like this. I think I have the blank auto version, but you see the lightning and the foil. So, so this was a throwback to the Michael Jordan Scoring Kings insert set, I think in the mid '90s. And so the savvy collector will also recognize this is one of my favorites. I love the Javed Miandad picture on top. Just a beautiful card. What a great player he was. And so this is something called Michael Jordan's Flight Club. He had an insert set in the mid '90s where he picked his like 11 or I think 12 best dunkers at the time, and that was his flight club. So I like to do that because I'm a nerd and I like to bring the hobby full circle. So now I got to figure out Series 3, what I want to do. Here's another one I really like. I love how the Chris Gale just pops off the card. See that one? So
Yes,
yeah.
I like it. How many of those are
Yeah,
there? All
no,
right, so you've got the Boom Boom one, Universe Boss.
it's pretty awesome, man. If you're a collector, like you've got Pajara, The Wall, you've got Silk and Stroke, Michael Vaughn, and you've got the Flying Eagle, Afridi, um, the Turbinator, of course, Harbhajan. You've got the Northern Rocket, Liam Plunkett, and then of course like this one. I love that one. It's Viv. It's the GOAT. And you've got Andy Roberts, Deadly Andy, and then of course this is my guy, the Sultan of Swing.
And so
So
all
it's
these
a
are
20, it's a
negotiated
20,
directly with these players.
correct, 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 correct. And I absolutely love this picture. Look at that one. Isn't that great? So, so yeah, these are all direct IP acquisition with the player themselves, with the talent themselves through agreement and contract. And so again, I think when it comes down to it, Peter, and I always go back and forth, like, is this the right way to run a business? And time will tell. I'm just making a product that I would buy.
What got you into cricket? I'm curious, as somebody of Pakistani heritage, but somebody who was born and raised in the U.S. and in Illinois. You mentioned the Michael Jordan stuff in the '80s. That was what you had your heart set on as a kid. You wanted to get your hands on the Michael Jordan collection cards, the Fleer set in '86. And I know you're a Bulls season ticket holder. You're a diehard Bulls fan, and I would imagine some of the other Chicago area sports teams you also follow closely. But how did cricket come into play? At what stage growing up did you start to gain an affinity for cricket, even though you're in the very heart of
So,
a big ecosystem in Chicago with all that they have to offer with the Bears and the Bulls and
of
you know,
course, and the '90s. I mean, shoot, the White Sox would have won the '94 World Series, and no one's going to tell me any different. That team was loaded, that White Sox team,
Frank
and then the strike
Thomas.
happened.
Yeah.
Frank Thomas, Jack McDowell, Robin Ventura. That team, Ozzie Guillen was the shortstop. I mean, that team was loaded for bear. That team would have won the series. but then the strike happened. So I mean, the point is, Chicago was really an epicenter of sports back then. I mean, even the Cubs, like their infield was like Mark Grace, Ryan Sandberg, and who was their third baseman? But like Andre
Well,
Dawson was in
Andre
the
Dawson, yeah,
outfield.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
And then you had Greg Maddux before he went to the Braves. I mean, like the Cubs, yeah, people forget the Cubs made the 89 NLCS. They lost to the Giants and Will Clark. So like they weren't slouches. So it was a great time to be like a sports fan in Illinois. My dad is a gastroenterologist and he is a patriot at heart. Him and a couple guys decided to build a hospital in Pakistan, in Islamabad. So in sophomore year of high school, we moved there. So I finished up high school in Islamabad, and then I ended up going to medical school there because in that system, it's kind of cool. You can go straight from high school to medical school, and that really appealed to me. So I'll tell you a couple of funny stories. 1994, there was a landmark series that Australia visited Pakistan. It was like Ian Healy, Shane Warne, just all the guys. And so there's a guy in my class who his father was in the Australian High Commission. He's like, "Hey, there's a reception tonight for the Australian cricket team. You want to come?" And I was like, "No, I don't know anything about cricket." So, okay. And then 1996, they were hosting the World Cup. And then so there are a bunch of games like 10 minutes from my house. It was like South Africa versus Netherlands. And then it was like South Africa versus the UAE. And this is like Hansi Cronje, Alan Donald, Jonty Rhodes, like Daryl Cullinan. These are like icons of the return of South African cricket. Now I know that, but I was like, no, I don't care. I was so out of the loop that when Afridi hit his 102 off 37, the next day everyone was talking about it. It was like my first year of med school, and I literally did not have a clue what they were talking about.
I mean,
I was like, what?
were you still keeping an eye on it and following everything in Chicago sports
Yes.
at that point in time?
Yes. Yes. Like, and it was so hard there. The internet there was like nascent. It was like embryonic. Like I had to rely like on 2 day old USA Today's to see what the NBA standings were. So like for me, it was more like, okay, the Bulls beat the Sonics. All right, cool. So that was the first of their second three-peat. Um, so so that was what I was tracking at the time. 1997, at that time of a preview, I think I was just, yeah, the Bulls were beating the Jazz for their second one. It was just totally not on my radar. Where I got into it was it the 98 or 99 where India Pakistan played a lot. So it was my first India Pakistan match in Lahore that I went to. Ijaz Ahmed went psycho and he hit like 139 off 88 balls with 11 sixes. It was ridiculous. India made 216, was under par, obviously. It was 50 overs, mind you. And Pakistan got the target like in 25 overs. It was like the first version of T20. It was an amazing game. I still remember like every time that ball went in the air, I'm like, holy crap, that's like a home run. Like, and then the crowd, like I still remember that game. And then in 99, it was the landmark test series, Pakistan, India, when they went to India. And then that was Wasim, Saklan, Afridi. And then that India team was jacked. I mean, it was Tendulkar, Dravid, Ganguly, Kumbli, Prasad. I mean, you're talking like, probably 10 all-timers between both playing 11s. That's how good that series was. And so that's where I got into it. But before then, I couldn't read this cricket scorecard. I'm like, what the? Like, what does this mean? Like, I don't know what this means. Like when I look at a cricket scoring card, I had no clue. So that's why I picked up the bug. So sorry, that was a really long answer for a very
But
short question.
But it took a couple years, even though it was right under your nose when you were living in Pakistan, when you were going
Uh-huh.
to med school. You had no interest to go out and watch these games
No.
or the invitations that you had to have opportunities to meet players. Zero interest
Yeah.
whatsoever.
None. And so there's a photo of the Australian cricket team in their like green and white yellow accent blazers at the Australian High Commission, which if you Google, you can actually find it. And everybody's there. Mark Taylor, the Waugh brothers, Shane Warne, Ian Healy. Like, I'm like, I wish I went. Like, I was like 16 years old. I wouldn't have remembered any of it or had relationships, that would have carried till now. But like I looked at that photo, Ricky Ponting, Glenn McGraw. I mean, but you don't know what you don't know. I think it's a great game. I think it's fun. It brings people together. And one of my passions about sports as a whole is that we need more sport because sport brings us together, right? The all the other differences that we spend way too much time trying to pigeonhole and, box ourselves into for really no good reason. Sports and music are that one time where for a few hours, we're all wearing the same team jersey, which is what I love. When I go to a Bulls game or a 49ers game, everything else goes out the door. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, black, white, what religion you are. You're just a fan, right? Have you heard about this experiment they did in Liverpool about 10 years ago?
No.
I don't think he was truly destitute or homeless, but they had a plant of a homeless guy sitting outside. Is it, gosh, what's Liverpool Stadium? It's not
Anfield.
Anfield. Is it Anfield?
Anfield, yeah.
Anfield.
Yeah.
So there was a guy, they put him outside Anfield in the corner, and people just walked by him. And then 2 hours later, he was wearing a Liverpool kit. And he was on the street for like 2 minutes. Everyone's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I don't have any." Like, come on, let's get a bite to eat. Let's go do something. Like, literally just put on a kit.
Yeah.
But you get it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I would do that. Like, I would think twice. And so that to me is the beauty of sport. And so, but coming back to me, like 15 years ago, English Premier League wasn't that big in the US. It had like cult followings here and there. But then people realized, wait, I can wake up and watch live sports on Saturday and Sunday morning. That's kind of cool. Like,
Yeah, it
that's how
doesn't
people got
conflict with,
into it.
that was huge. The fact that the 7 a.m. start
Yeah.
on the East Coast
Right.
for the noon
Yep.
start in England,
Yep. Yep.
there's something there that it's not conflicting with college basketball coming on at noon local time in the US. So there's a 5 hour window there where you could watch two matches, the
Exactly.
12 p.m. and the 3 p.m. start in London. And there was a cottage industry that popped up of sports bars on the East
Right.
Coast in New York
Yep.
and in Boston,
Yep.
and I'm sure
Yep.
it's spread now to Chicago and LA and wherever else, where, yeah, doors were being thrown
Chelsea
open.
bar, a
Yeah,
Liverpool
exactly. Yeah.
bar, an
And
EPL bar,
they would serve
right?
a full English breakfast, and they tried to do
Yep.
thematic things to get people to come on out. But it's, hey, we used to just throw our doors open at noon, A, because it's not kosher to be getting drunk before noon.
Right.
Uh, but also, if you're at a sports bar, nothing would come on before noon. 12 o'clock was the line of
There's nothing
demarcation
live.
where, yeah, college football
Exactly.
starts,
College
college
football, college
basketball,
basketball.
right? There's
Exactly.
no 11 a.m. starts. There's no 10 a.m. starts like you would have in cricket or whatever other sports. But
Right.
if in a different time zone, they could get content brought in through NBC Sports started to get rights, ESPN, that you have bidding
Right.
wars with Fox, and it's now every single NFL broadcast on Sunday Night Football, NBC, you have Mike Tirico reading a promo
Hmm.
for,
I
oh,
know.
check out this Saturday or this Sunday.
Coming up Saturday,
Yeah,
Chelsea versus Liverpool, live
at
on Peacock,
live on
or
Peacock
something.
at 7
Yeah.
a.m. or 8 a.m. or 9, and they're enthusiastic about it because again, it
Yeah.
doesn't bite into the NFL. It doesn't eat into that.
No, no,
And
no, it doesn't.
it's got the legitimacy of being a highly professional sport and the fan followings of Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal globally are
Hmm.
just as enthusiastic as the New York Yankees or the LA
Yankees, Dodgers,
Dodgers,
Bulls,
all that
yeah,
stuff. Exactly.
Chiefs,
And so
Patriots, yeah,
there's a mutual
exactly.
respect there. And ideally, cricket can also tap into that. We saw a couple years ago the Big Bash had a TV rights deal. I think it was on NBC Sports. And part of the reason why they were able to secure that deal with the Big Bash was because the Australian time zone, the matches were coming on at like 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m. So when your
Yeah,
college
that's the
basketball
other part of it,
games,
the flip.
yeah,
Exactly. Because
the,
if it's, yeah,
yeah,
if
the
it's
college
10 o'clock,
basketball, the
sorry to cut
college
you off.
basketball would end at, if the last
College
college
basketball
basketball
is
game
over.
would start at 10 p.m. and would be done by midnight, they didn't have to push aside college basketball programming to squeeze in the
No,
Big Bash,
no,
right?
everybody gets this. We're like, if it's like Saturday at like 10 o'clock, and I'm sure some of your viewers will resonate with this. It's like, oh man, all the football games are over. Oh no, hold on, there's Hawaii. Hawaii's playing like BYU, or something. It's like, okay, cool. So like there's still live sports, right? Like at 10 o'clock,
Hawaii, San Jose
And
State.
so yeah, exactly. Like, the old Mac 10 or whoever.
Yeah.
So like So like, there's still some live sports, but to your point, like you could do 7 a.m., you could do 11 p.m. And then I've actually seen, and I don't know how it works, but like Amazon Prime will also have some Australian stuff on there, So they had the Ashes. I think you could watch the Ashes on Amazon Prime. So, but I think obviously T20 lends itself more to casual watching. It's more dynamic, it's more interactive. And so I think that there's an opportunity. I mean, like just and what I'll tell you is like, people will be like, "Oh, no one's gonna watch English soccer in America." Well, yeah, 15 years ago they didn't. I agree. But now they do. And so like English football has a huge advantage in name recognition. Those teams have been around for 100 years. But for cricket, I mean, we've got what's it called? 2.5 billion people, right? India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, who live here, they'll watch it. So there's got to be a balance between, the cost to get it out there versus the accessibility to the casual fan. And that's where I think you and I maybe talked where like the Olympics for USA for cricket in the US is going to be big because hopefully it will be broadcast on NBC, right? It would be broadcast on some kind of much bigger platform. And that would be the moment. And the other thing that USA Cricket needs is, Sanjay and Sai to become top 50, top 25 in the world, right? When the US has bona fide good players that are getting to be the best of the sport, I think the casual fan will start paying attention.
What else are you hoping to achieve in terms of market spread with Sportsnection, specifically with cricket?
Well, in the US, I mean, like we've got this set, as you mentioned, Stars and Stumps. I'm super excited about it myself. I love these cards. As you can see, they're IP agnostic, right? These are the agreements we have with the players themselves. So they're wearing our gear, they're wearing our things. So yeah, we put them on sale last week. We've had some sales, and I think if you want to collect rookie cards of USA talent, we're the ones that you can do it. And so I'd love to repeat it for Series 2 and see who else is out there. I just think we need to promote local homegrown talent. When it comes to global, I think there's a huge opportunity. Like I said, the Mount Rushmore of cricket is still out there. I think cricket needs to get into the collectible hobby. Like I'm going to go back to the National in Chicago in July, and the usual blue bloods will be there. The top four plus MLS will be there, but WNBA is there. Caitlin Clark cards are there. And so to me, why aren't cricket cards there? And I had a small table at the National, and a guy from Sydney flew in from Sydney to attend the card show. He bought so much of the product and just started opening it right there at my table. He didn't even wait till he got home. And he was pulling Viv Richards, Alan Donald, Jonty Rhodes, and he was like a kid in a candy store. He's like, I didn't even know this product existed. I'm like, nope, it's right here. That's on me. We haven't had much marketing budget. But we had a lot of people come by and look at it. And so ultimately, what we need to do is have the collector component to it, but also somehow get into the rookie speculation part of it, right? And that's where Stars and Stumps, being a much more smaller quantum product, but it has bona fide on-card rookies. Like the rookies that you'll pull in this set are hand signed by the actual player, which collectors love.
Well, hopefully the future continues to be bright for sports action and the cricket trading card market in America, and the fact that you've got an opportunity to get American players like these newer members of the squad. You said them, Sai Mukamala, Sanjay Krishnamurti, who've not only done well for USA over the last 12 to 18 months, but Sanjay Krishnamurti has been lighting it up on the franchise circuit, whether it's for the Unicorns or the other opportunities he's gotten around the world. And the fact that you've got an opportunity to collect their cards is pretty cool, I have to say, as somebody who grew up collecting all sorts of cards.
And I was here when the '94 Soccer World Cup was here, and then they launched MLS. It was not gangbusters at all. At all. I mean, MLS, I mean, again, if you put out a trading card then it would have no commercial value.
Well,
But,
I mean,
you
the
know,
'94 World Cup, most of the matches they didn't show live. If you wanted to watch live, you had to watch Univision or Telemundo, whoever had the Spanish language
that's
rights. And
crazy.
so many kids I
Right.
grew up with started to learn Spanish just through watching the soccer calls. But from an access standpoint, if you wanted to watch live, that was it. There wasn't enough
Yeah.
interest from the English
Correct.
language channels to show every
Correct.
match live. That didn't really
Right.
happen from memory until I think 2006, because again, in 98, USA was still kind of growing as a soccer country. They got knocked out in France in the group stage. 2002 in Japan and South Korea, because of the time zone difference, you had to be waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. if you wanted to watch it live. And again,
Right.
there wasn't interest for that. In 2006 in Germany and then 2010 in South Africa, USA starts to perform a bit better, but B, the time zone was a lot more
Hold on.
conducive. And
Peter, the dirty secret about USA, not the dirty secret, I shouldn't say that. The thing people forget about USA soccer is that it actually was the women's team that put soccer on the map
no, they're still the most
because
successful.
they were
Absolutely,
the
yeah,
best in the world.
yeah.
They won, I think, like three or four titles, with Mia Hamm and Brandy Chastain, and they made the cover of Sports Illustrated,
Yes.
right? They became must watch. And so that's a whole different angle about women in cricket, which I think is a huge undervalued asset as well. I think there's a ton of potential there as well. But you probably, I mean, did you know the 1980 NBA Finals? Magic Johnson, Dr. J was tape
Tape
delay.
delay,
It
yeah.
wasn't even live. Yeah,
Up
yeah.
until I think like 88 or 89, they still to sh which were showing stuff on tape delay
I
for the
think
NBA
when
Finals.
I think it was Bird and Lakers like '84. I think like when the Bird and Magic started making it, I think they realized there was enough commercial value to carry it live, which is crazy to say out loud. So, but the point is like in 2026, you've got internet, you've got streaming, you've got apps. There's so much more possibility to get your message out there.
No, I mean, I think back to growing up, the World Series was always live on network television. By the early '90s, yeah, the NBA Finals were being shown live. But even like the NHL, the Stanley Cup Finals, my earliest memory is, and I hopefully you'll appreciate this as a Chicago guy or an Illinois guy. I mean, when the Penguins played the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup Finals, and I believe it was '92, and Dirk Graham scored a hat trick, I think in Game 4, that the Penguins wound up sweeping the Blackhawks. But Dirk Graham scored a hat trick, and those games we had Sports Channel America. You had to
Yeah,
get the
yeah.
subscription service. It was on cable. They were not showing NHL Stanley Cup Finals games on ABC or
NBC
Fox or
or
NBC, whatever.
ABC. Right, right, right.
You had to pay, and Sports Channel was not necessarily carried everywhere. It was a little bit of a chore to find Sports Channel or find a place that was showing the Stanley Cup Finals. So, like you said, to be in an era now where, not only do we take for granted the Super Bowl obviously was always shown on network television, but
Sure.
World Series, Super Bowl, NBA Finals, NHL Finals on network television. Not only that, but you've got the access to watch Champions League, English Premier League,
Bundesliga, La Liga, you can
all that
watch anything
stuff.
on
Yeah.
streaming now.
And
Yeah.
and then
The Penguins team, was that the one with Jaromir Jagr, right?
I think he was a rookie that year. So Lemieux had been
Jagr, I
there
think,
since
was
the
on
mid
that
'80s,
team.
but
Right,
they
right.
had Paul
I,
Coffey and Yager was. I'm pretty sure he was a rookie in
I
'92,
think, yeah.
and
'Cause
then
he was a big chase too. Him and then the other chase in hockey was a guy, Timu Solani.
of course the Winnipeg Jets 70-goal season. Yeah, I had his card,
He was
of course.
yeah, he was a huge speculation play. I remember that too.
Alexander
So,
McGillney, another one that was
oh,
kind of a
then
hot.
Eric
Yeah,
Lindros. He was a
well,
huch chase. Remember for the
yeah,
Flyers?
because he tried to fleece he didn't want to play for the
Yeah,
Quebec Nordiques, and so he forced the
right.
trade to the Flyers, which wound up
But
actually
he was the
working
big chase.
better for the Nordiques, which became the Avalanche because they got Peter
Oh, that's
Forsberg in
right.
that trade, and they got a whole lot of other players in that trade that were the core of their Stanley Cup teams in the
They did
mid nine
well.
late '90s, whereas Lindros never
Patrick Raw was their keeper, right? Goalie. Patrick
for the
Raw for
Avalanche
the
because
yeah.
he had a falling out with the Canadians. So he won two cups with the Canadians, and then
That's
in the
crazy.
'94, the '95 season, the coach at the time he didn't get along with, and he
Hmm.
let I think 9 goals in 2 periods against the Detroit Red Wings. I want to say in a game, and in hockey, obviously it's customary to, if you let four or
Sure.
five in, you'd be taken out of the game and you don't want to embarrass the
Right.
guy. But his coach, I can't remember the coach's name, they hated each other. And he let them in the
So
game to let, I think it was 9 goals in the end. It was either 9 or 10.
send a
I'm pretty sure it was 9,
message.
to say like,
Right.
I'm just going to let you keep getting embarrassed out there.
Yeah.
It's not
Oh
your night.
God.
I'm not going to let you off the hook. I'm not going to, try and protect you. No,
Right.
I'm happy to see you keep getting embarrassed.
Yeah.
And so every goal he kept letting in. And then when he finally did get pulled out, Patrick Roy went up to the GM who was sitting behind the bench and said, "I'm never playing another game for you guys." And
Really? Oh, so
so
that was the story.
he forced
Jeez.
a trade, and he was kind of, he'd won in '86 and '93 when the Canadians won the two Stanley Cups with Patrick Roy, but he was trending downward. And then when that
Hmm.
happened, that lit a fire on him. I think for the rest of his career, it was motivation. Like, I'm gonna. It's not just about winning a Stanley Cup for the Colorado Avalanche and helping them win. It was, I want to make
Right.
sure I'm making everybody in
Right.
Montreal remember what they are missing out.
Yeah, he was like, wasn't he lights out for the Avalanche? I remember he was almost, you couldn't score against him, if I
Well, yeah,
remember.
and they beat the Devils in the Stanley Cup Finals one year. That the two best goalies in the league at that point in time, or three, were Waugh, Martin Brodeur for the Devils, and Dominik Hasek with the Buffalo Sabres, and
That's right. That's
eventually the Red Wings.
right.
He got traded to the Red Wings at some point, and he won a couple of cups with the Wings. So yeah, when you say Timo
Yeah.
Solane, Winnipeg Jets
Crazy,
rookie card,
crazy.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was in the
But
hunt for
but
all
but
that growing up.
that's where I lose my mind sometimes. I'm like Abhishek Sharma. He's such a talent, like Shubman Gill. The young kid, he's like a 14-year-old kid in India. Like, why do we not have the rookie cards?
Yeah, Vaibhav
Like,
Suryavanshi,
right, you know?
the kid who scored the
Right.
century in the
So
IPL. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's like, why do these guys not have rookie cards? Like, there's obviously a commercial component to it, but there's also a collector component. Like, you start following their career more avidly if you have their card. We'll keep banging the door, Peter. We'll keep banging the door. Eventually, it'll open. It's already opening. Don't get me wrong. I just want to run through it now.
favorite 11 time with Omar Khokhar. And again, a reminder that the Stars and Stripes Cricket Podcast is brought to you by Sportsnection. Go to the sportsnection.com to use coupon code PDP2026 to get 20% off any online order, and that includes the Stars and Stumps series, where you can get your hands on some of those up and coming American stars such as Saimo Kamala and Sanjay Krishnamurti and Shubham Ranjane, who was in the SA20, doing well there
Yep.
outside of the franchise world, where he has been a star in MLC and now obviously getting a chance to play for USA at the T20 World Cup. All right, Omar,
Don't
here we
sleep
go.
on Muhammad. Don't sleep on Muhammad Mohsin.
As somebody who travels around the world going to different sporting events and family interactions, I like to ask this one. Your favorite thing to do to pass the time on a transoceanic flight?
Sleep.
Get that flight over with quick. Your favorite thing about Chicago?
Skyline. It's the best. I will have words with anybody. We have the best skyline.
Your favorite city or country that you have visited for any sporting event?
I gotta tell you, the MCG, Pakistan, India is a life core memory. That was something. That was 96,000 people, I think. And the Melbourne Sun, I think is the newspaper. They said the next day in their column that you could be 2.5 kilometers from the stadium and you could follow the ebb and flow of that game.
And this was for the T20 World Cup.
Yeah. October 2022, and India was dead and buried. Kohli was like 19 off 30, and he finished 83 off 52. It was just something like you just appreciated. You're like, I just watched Jordan or LeBron, go here. It was just like, dang, that's just impressive athletic ability. So the MCG, I got to tell you, and then Rod Laver Arena being there, that was a pretty cool trip.
This might double up this question because of your first answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Your favorite cricket ground experience anywhere in the world, and by that I mean the scenery, the landscape, the fan atmosphere, the food that you can get from concession stands, anything else about kind of the approach to the ground and where it's situated. So, as a cricket fan, where is your favorite cricket ground that you've had a chance to go visit anywhere in the world?
MCG, like I just mentioned, but the other one that I actually also really liked was Edgbaston. Was the semifinals of the 2019 World Cup, England versus Australia, and that was one where England just demolished them. But Edgbaston had a vibe to it. Just walking in and the stadium and the old, I think there's an old stand. I can't remember the name of it. That place was hopping. I did not expect that. So that and Old Trafford was good too. Old Trafford's like in the middle of a neighborhood. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Oh
It's
yeah,
literally
I live 5 minutes from
you're
there.
just oh, do you really? It's so weird. It's like
There's
you
nowhere to
see
park. It's
the
very residential.
oh, it was just weird as like as an American going there. I'm used to like Chicago stadiums and this and that. So we're just walking and like I just turned the corner and it was right there and I was like, oh, okay. So, um, but Old Trafford was really fun too. That was New Zealand, India, the one that got rain delayed. So that was a fun. I want to keep going. I really want to go to South Africa, maybe next year. I want to go to Table Mountain, Cape Town. I want to see South Africa as well, and New Zealand too. Is on my bucket list.
Yes, I'm very familiar with Chester Road, the intersection of Chester Road where Old Trafford is.
Yeah,
You've got the cricket ground on one side, and then you've got the football ground to the opposite
right.
side on where
Yep.
Chester Road splits them. And you've got a KFC and a Nando's and some
It's
other
so
stuff there.
weird. They're like a school. There's like a school bus going by. It was like a school, like a primary school, and
Yeah,
I
no,
was
no.
like,
I think it's Stratford. Stratford High School is
"Is
literally kind
right?
of
There's
on the diagonal
something."
corner. There's Stratford Sports Village, and I believe it's Stratford High School is on the diagonal corner across
Yeah.
from
It's like
Old
catty
Trafford Cricket
corner from
Ground.
the stadium. I was
Yes.
like completely discombobulated, like cognitively. I was like, well, jet lag. But I was like, wait, like there's a stadium at a high school. So, but yeah, so those are some of the fun ones. And I want to go to the West Indies too. I've never been to the West Indies. I want to go to some of those stadiums as well, like for CPL. That's kind of a next thing for me.
Another note for fans to keep in mind if you're driving to Old Trafford, there's a speed camera. They love speed cameras in the UK. There's a speed camera, a yellow speed camera, right along the border of Old Trafford Cricket Ground. So be careful. Those cricketers, they've got a lead foot when they get out of the parking lot. They're trying to get somewhere quick. So don't get caught on the speed camera because you'll get a ticket in the mail. Beware. Anybody who lives or drives around Old Trafford, they know that though. All right. Your favorite cricketer of all time.
Oh, he's a legend and he's a good friend. I gotta say, Wasim Akram, just class inside out.
Your favorite non-cricket athlete of all time.
Magic Johnson. I'm a Lakers fan from way back when. Magic Johnson is my guy. Michigan State, close by, and just he had a great career, and then he's a great business person. So it's kind of a role model.
Explain this to me. You're a Bulls season ticket holder. You grew up in Illinois, and you're a Lakers fan.
I actually am a Lakers fan. Like I'm a Lakers and 49ers fan, more of an 80s thing. I was a contrarian. I mean, I have the Bulls tickets now because they're closer, but I'm definitely more Lakers are my team. And so I was a huge Magic Johnson fan. So the other one who I just give a lot of credit to, he comes from a different background, but to carry himself with the class and humility and success, LeBron James, what a career. I mean, I just watched him play on TV like the other day. He's still jumping, he's still moving. He's like 42 years old. It's crazy. So I have a lot of respect the way he's conducted himself, just his whole career.
Your favorite food item to get at any sports venue. When you're in your seat, what do you like to munch on?
If I can get garlic parm fries, it's a little snobby, but that's what they have at the 49ers stadium, garlic parm. Yeah, I'll settle for cheese fries or chili fries.
Your favorite beverage.
Probably laugh. Turkish tea. That's what I'm drinking right now. Turkish tea.
Your favorite pizza topping.
Mushrooms.
Your favorite music artist of all time.
The police.
And finally, your favorite movie of all time, Omar.
Star Wars, hands down. Every life lesson can be drawn back to the Star Wars trilogy.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Exactly. It's how we live in Sportsnection, baby. Just do it.
Awesome. Omar, A Jedi in the trading card field. I like it. Thank you so much for coming on the Stars and Stripes Cricket Podcast. Anything else you want to share with the masses that they don't already know about you that you feel would be worth having them know, whether about yourself or about Sportsnection?
Just if you're passionate about cricket, give us a try. I think you'll like what we have, and let's just keep spreading this cool game. I see it. My kids play it. Some of their friends are starting to play it. It's a great game. It brings people together, and this is just one way to get people more interested and involved. So buy some product, show it to your friends, show it to your, you know, colleagues, put it up in your office, make people ask questions. That's what we want to do. We want to stir the pot.